What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Oak Tree Football channel. And in today's video, I'll be looking at the University of Oregon. I'll be looking at their schedule. I'll be talking about their team, and I'll give a record prediction for them this season. So the University of Oregon is a pretty good football team. They have some good players on the offense, like Johnny Johnson. C.J. Verdell is a very good running back. Penny Sewell is one of the best offensive linemen in college football. And then they have a new quarterback this year in Tyler Shough since Justin Herbert left for the NFL draft. And then on the defensive side, they have a really good safety in Javon Holland. So it's a really, really good team overall. Oregon has been close to the playoffs for the past few seasons, but they've just missed every time. They made the national championship game a few years ago, but haven't made it back to the playoffs since that. And they nearly made it last year. And I think they would have made it last year if it wasn't for a late loss to Arizona State in the end of the season. If they hadn't lost that game, they probably would have made the playoffs. But they lost to Arizona State and missed out on the playoffs barely. But can this be the year when they make it back? Can Tyler Shough lead Oregon to the playoff? Let's get right into looking at their schedule. So in 2019, they went 12-2, the two losses being against the University of Auburn and, of course, like I already said, to Arizona State late in the season. They had the 12th best recruiting class in the country, which is very, very good. So now looking at their schedule, week 1 they play North Dakota State, who is an FCS team, but they are by far the best FCS team. There is not a better FCS team. They have just won lots of championships in the past years. They have a really good roster, including potential first-round quarterback maybe even next year in Trey Lance. And that could be actually a really, really tough game for Oregon. I wouldn't be surprised if North Dakota State puts up a fight, and it's actually a close game. But in the end, Oregon should still be able to win that game. It might be closer than people think, but Oregon should still be able to win that game. Week 2, though, I don't know if they'll be able to win this game. It is at home, but they are playing Ohio State, one of the best teams in college football, and not an FCS. One of the best teams in the FBS. Really, really good team all around, especially on the offense. Great, great team. And that is probably Oregon's toughest game of the season. It's good that their toughest game is in the beginning of the year in week 2, because that way they can bounce back and still possibly make the playoffs if they bounce back really well. But if it was later in the year, like Arizona State last year, even though that wasn't their toughest game, they ended up losing and missing out on the playoff. So it's good that the game is here. But it's going to be a really competitive game. Two very, very good teams. An intriguing matchup, definitely. And it's going to be close. And I could definitely see Oregon winning because it is at home. But Ohio State is just such a good football team, and they could also win. So that's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. Week 3, Hawaii. This one shouldn't be that hard. It is at home once again. Hawaii just isn't the best football team. They do have some good players in the roster, but they're just not on the level as teams like Oregon are, and Ohio State are, of course, and even some of Oregon's other opponents this year. They're just not on that level. They might score a few points, but I do think Oregon should be able to seal that win. Week 4 against Colorado. It is at Colorado, but still, Colorado just isn't the best football team. They do have some returning talent, but they are losing arguably their best player in Laviska Shenault. So I don't expect much from Colorado this season. Didn't have the best season last year. Probably won't have the best season again. So that can definitely be a win for the University of Oregon. Week 5, they play Washington. This might be a bit close, but it still should be a win for Oregon. Washington has a bit of talent on the roster, but they also have a lot of holes, and they just aren't the greatest team in the world. I could see them putting up a fight, but I can't see them winning. In week 6, they have a bye week before having another away game, their second of the season, against California. Cal could be a good team this season. They could actually be really good. They could have a huge step up. They could even be ranked, but I don't think they will be as good as Oregon. But I do think they could actually put up a really, really good fight in this game, and I think it'll be really close, and it'll be fun to watch. But I do think Oregon will get the win. It is at Cal, which does make it a lot better for them. Of course. So I think it will be a really, really close game, and people might be shocked at how close it is, because I think California can be a good team. But I still do believe it will be a win for Oregon. They then play Stanford at home. Stanford just isn't the best football team, and they should be able to get a win in that game. I do think so. They have some talent. It's just not as talented as teams like even California, and definitely not Oregon. Week 9 to have Arizona. This could actually be a tough game. It should still be a win for Oregon, but Arizona does have a pretty good roster. Have some good players on the roster. It is at Arizona, so it could actually be a potential trap game for Oregon. But Arizona still is a very, very good football team, Oregon is still a very, very good football team, and I do believe that they will be able to have a win here. It might be close, but I do think it'll be a win. And then Week 10, they have probably their second toughest game of the season after Ohio State. This one is against USC. USC could have a really, really good season with the likes of Keaton Slovis going into his second year. Really good quarterback, and he could be really good for them this season. And USC could actually be a team that could be ranked really high this year. So this could be a really tough game for Oregon. It is at home for Oregon, which helps. But I think this game could be really close. And I would not be surprised if USC is able to get a win. But I also would not be surprised if Oregon is able to get the win. So it's going to be really close, really fun to watch. Just like the Ohio State game. Two very good rosters. USC isn't as good as Ohio State, but they are still a very good football team. Week 11, they play Arizona State. Arizona State isn't the best football team, but of course they were able to sneak past Oregon last year and get the win. And I do think Arizona State will be ranked this season, or at least be close to it. Arizona State does actually have a really, really good roster, and they could be ranked, like I just said, and they could put up a fight once again. And I would not be surprised if Oregon maybe loses again. But in the end, I do think they will be able to win. But I think it'll be a really, really close game against Arizona State. And then to end the season, 2 away games against Washington State. Shouldn't be much of a challenge. Washington State might be able to put up a few points, but they're just not a great team. And then Week 13, Oregon State. This one should not be a challenge. I think this might be one of Oregon's biggest wins of the season. Oregon State just isn't on the level as some of their other opponents this season. Oregon State just really isn't that great of a football team. And I do think Oregon will be able to beat Oregon State. So now, after we've gone through every game, I'll tell who I think will win and say my final record prediction. Week 1 against North Dakota State. I do think this will be a win. It might be close. But I still do believe Oregon will win. Week 2, I do think Oregon will lose this game. It will be so close. Such an exciting matchup. I'm really excited for it. But I do think, in the end, Oregon will lose. Probably only by a few points, but it will be an Oregon loss. Then I have them winning 3 games in a row against Hawaii, Colorado, and Washington. Washington might be a bit tough, but it still should be a win against all those teams. They then have a bye week. I have them squeezing by a win in California. I think that can be really close. But then I have them having back-to-back wins in Stanford and then Arizona. And then I have them squeezing out a win at against USC. And then again, squeezing out a win against Arizona State. So 2 very close wins, I think, there. And then I think they can beat Washington State by a solid amount, and then they should beat Oregon State by a good amount also, which means that they will come in at a record of 11-1 this season. Oregon, this might get them into the college football playoff, but just because of how many close games I think they will have, they might be just short, but they should definitely be in the conversation for it, especially since their only loss comes early in the season in Week 2. But I think Tyler Shough can have a really good season at quarterback, and if he has a really good season, Oregon might even be able to go undefeated. Who knows if they can beat Ohio State. So I think best case scenario, they could go undefeated this season. Worst case scenario, probably about 4 losses, I would say, against. I mean, I've said it multiple times, California could be a tough game. I think if they had 4 losses, they would be against Ohio State and USC, I think they would definitely lose both those two games if they had 4 losses, and then probably against Arizona State and California. But I do think they will be able to beat Arizona State and California. I just think USC and Ohio State are the real games to look out for. So I could see Oregon going 10-2, but my prediction is 11-1. That is what I think of the Oregon Ducks. What do you think of the Oregon Ducks? Tell me in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe for more daily football and college football content. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.